Doesn't every good story deserve a strong finale? Well, we are just in time for yours. In 100 days from today, it will be January 1st, 2026. The year 2025 will be completely over and done. And you have two options the way that I see it. One, you can roll into the new year the exact same person as you were and have the exact same goals that you've probably had for months and months and months and just now gearing up the energy to start it. Or you could show up completely different. It is time for a last 100 days of the year glow up. One thing that's been bothering me a ton this year is the phrase nothing changes if nothing changes. And the idea I think is there, but the reality is that things do change if nothing changes. If nothing changes, typically things will stagnate and get worse. You know what I'm saying? Like if we say nothing changes if nothing changes, like if you stop working out, like if you don't change your workout routine or you don't change your sedentary lifestyle, it's not that nothing is going to change. You're going to lose muscle, you're going to get sicker, your rates of disease go up. Like there's so many things that are going to happen there. The same thing where if I leave my fridge uncleaned and I just don't change the fact that last week's food is in there, it's not that nothing is going to change. It's all going to spoil. Okay. So the idea that nothing changes if nothing changes is, I think, a soothing thought, but it's an untrue thought, where the reality is that you're either moving forward or you're moving backwards in most things, in the spiritual life, in your health, in your social life, in everything. And so I want to invite you on a little bit of a journey. I want to invite you on a grand finale with 12 weeks of mini sprints. Because one, I think that we need to plan ahead, and I want you to look at these next 3 months of your life. But two, if you're someone that needs a little bit of novelty in the middle of the road, like me, I want to give you something every single week to focus on so that by the end of these 12 weeks or the end of these 100 days together, you will be showing up on January 1st so proud, so different, and with your life changed. The thing is, I am a firm believer that your life can absolutely change within 100 days. Our signature program, Made Good, is 100 days long for that very, very reason. I think for women in particular, it's important that you understand why that 100-day rule is so critical. I teach this to all of my clients. I know that I've talked about it before. The thing is, if you are going to start a new habit, I want you to see it through for 100 days because the feminine body does really, really well with a longer runway. In fact, it's written into your biology. So the way that I want you to think about it is that your body, if you have a cycle, if you're a young woman with a cycle, your body is moving towards ovulation every single month. That's the way that it's designed to function. Now, the egg that is released this month on this cycle has actually been prepared over the last 100 days. So when you're living out this cycle and how you're feeling and how your energy is and how vibrant you feel or how your PMS was with this period, I actually want you to look back 100 days. So much of what you're living right now is thank you to or a consequence of your activity over the past 100 days, 100 days ago and everything in between. So if we look forward and you're thinking, okay, well, what do I want to be? Who do I want to be? What do I want my life to be like on January 1st? I want you to think about, well, what am I going to do over these next 100 days? Who am I going to become? What am I going to focus on? What are my priorities going to be? I need you to not wait for January 1st to change your life. I am a huge New Year's girl. Don't get it twisted. I love New Year's energy. I love New Year's resolutions. I love the fresh start of a calendar. You can see I actually put up my 2025 calendar, a 2025 calendar. I didn't really use this, hence why it's blank. But I put up this calendar for this series because I think it's so helpful to see the visual. This one's like spaced out all on one page. Goodness me, that just tells me everything I need to know. So I have a couple of things for you to focus on starting this week. So, like I said, over these next 12 weeks, I'm going to walk you through one specific focus every single week that can transform your life, your mind, your body, and your soul, and make it so that you already feel prepared entering into the new year and that you really finish this year on a strong foot. So the thing with like a race is that it's really not about how you start, it's about how you finish. That's what it's all about. That is exclusively what it's about. It doesn't matter if you were the fastest one out of the gate to start. What matters is how you cross the finish line. Here's a story that I have for you. I had an encounter with God last year doing a turkey trot. Okay. I have never been a runner. If you've been listening to the pod, I have told you this story about my turkey trot situation where I was like, I'm going to do it. I don't know if I ever told you about how I went after though. So I have always loathed running. I'm a big girl, and tall girls and joints, it just felt like my tendons weren't quite made for that. Like I always hated running in middle school. I always felt like I was really bad at it. The exercise induced asthma got me really good. And just for a lot of reasons, I hated it. I hated it. It felt painful. It felt uncomfortable. I was embarrassed, like so many different layers. Fast forward to last year, on the 4th of July, we parked really far away and we had to sprint to the fireworks with Mila and her husband and my husband. And we were just getting there as fast as we could. And I was like, wow, I want to be faster. I want to start practicing running. And so we signed up for a turkey trot in our neighborhood. And it was so exhilarating to know that we were going to be there. The morning of, though, I was filled with such dread, such anxiety. And if you're like, a turkey trot is literally 3.2 miles, I'm like, no, I know. But it was like the principle of it that I felt like the identity wasn't there, that I like didn't feel like I was a runner. I didn't feel like I was supposed to be there. And I was literally coming up with reasons why I couldn't go that very morning. It was crazy. Anyways, finally, my friends were like, oh, where are you? And my husband was like, we already paid. Let's go. So we show up at the starting line and I'm like getting emotional. First of all, if you've never done a turkey trot, I'm going to give you a spoiler. I want you to consider doing that. Can I add that in as part of the 100-day sprint? Yes, because I'm making it up all by myself. I'm going to add that as a suggestion. If you want to change your life and do all the things that you've been meaning to do, that's like one thing that I cannot stand is having unfinished business, which you're going to see in the journal prompts that I'm going to give you in a second. But like, you cannot keep living your life. And I'm saying this about myself. I'm saying this about anyone, but like, you cannot keep living your life with the list of all the things that you want to do one day, because who knows how much longer that you have. And like, who's to say that you have this infinite amount of time? We don't have infinite time. So I want you to finish off and check as many things off of your list that you could absolutely do in this next month, 2 months, 3 months before we enter into this new chapter of 2025. Anyways, turkey trot. I get there and I'm talking to my friends and they're like, what's your goal for today? Clearly I had never run a race and they had. And I was like, to finish? Like, what are we talking about? And they're like, okay. And some of the guys were like, I want to run, like, I think they wanted to finish the whole thing in under 30 minutes or like as close to 20 as they could. I don't remember what it was. They're crazy. They did really well though. But so everyone had these different goals that they were setting for themselves. And it wasn't until after that I was like, man, my only goal was to finish. And that showed in the way that I like trained for it, that I prepared for the turkey trot, that showed in the way that I showed up, that showed in the way that I performed, and that showed in like my time in the end. And the truth is, like, the turkey trot, it wasn't about the time, but I had this feeling, oh, did I say that part of why I wanted to do the turkey trot was because of St. Paul and all the verses about running the race. Let me pull this up actually. So we have these 3 different verses where St. Paul talks about running. We have Hebrews 12, 1-2, where he says, we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses. Let us rid ourselves of every burden and sin that clings to us and persevere in running the race that lies before us while keeping our eyes fixed on Jesus, the leader and perfecter of faith. For the sake of the joy that lay before him, he endured the cross, despising its shame, and has taken his seat on the right of the throne of God. Then we have 1 Corinthians 9, 24-25. Do you know that the runners in the stadium all run in the race, but only one wins the prize? Run so as to win. Every athlete exercises discipline in every way. They do it to win a perishable crown, but we an imperishable one. And then in 2 Timothy 4:7, I have competed well, I have finished the race, and I have kept the faith. So to run so as to win, I ended up meditating on that for like weeks after the turkey trot, where I was like, I did not run so as to win. It actually didn't even cross my mind because in my head, it was such an impossible feat. It was so unlike me that I was just showing up for fun and to be able to say that I did it. And because I had prayed with these scriptures specifically to run the race and to persevere, was that I was like, man, if I want to learn like true endurance and perseverance in living the good life and in living a holy life and in business and in family and all the things that like this life is hard. This life is hard. And if I want to have perseverance and have those virtues, like I should probably do something physical to help me mirror that. So that was like a way that I was trying to grow in that virtue, but it just struck me immensely. So all that to say, I want you to finish this year like you can win. Like, run so as to win and persevere all the way to the finish line. Don't just let these next 2-3 months coast on by and be like, well, I didn't really get anything done because of the holidays, or because I was going out of town, or because, like, what's the point of starting at the end of the year? So every good thing, of course, starts with an audit. So I have 4 questions for you to journal out, to ask yourself if you listen to this pod with your friend or your mom or your roommate or anyone, and you want to sit and discuss these. This would be really, really fun to discuss. So the first question is, like, why we do an audit is because you got to get a lay of the land. You got to see what's going on, where we're starting, so that you have a clear game plan that you can form. Of course, I'm going to give you challenges and things to focus on every single week, but you know your life and you know your heart and you know what you want and maybe what the Lord is calling you to. So I want you to kind of audit the situation first before we enter in. This is where we're going to begin, of course. So question number 1, what has 2025 been defined by so far? If you look back on this year, what would you say were some of, like, the biggest moments of this year? What are some words that you would use to describe it? How has your life looked? What has changed? What has been a big focus or a big priority for you this year? Has there been any life-changing circumstances? Maybe you had a baby, maybe you got married, maybe you lost a loved one, maybe you moved. But what has 2025 been defined by? I have mine, but I can't tell you yet. I'm going to announce it very soon. But I have something that I worked on for a big chunk of this year, like mentally leading up to it. And then it actually worked on it throughout the whole summer. But there's been a lot of running the race and persevering in this year, to say the least. My second question is, did you start with resolutions? Did you can you pull those back up? Did you journal about what your main goals were for this year? Do you remember them? Have you been revisiting them? That would be really important. One of my biggest ones was honestly moving on to the video pod and really focusing on the podcast. We bumped it up to 2 episodes a week. I think we've gotten 2 episodes almost every single week this year. And most of them, probably 90% of them, have been on video because we're going to move to YouTube later this year. So that has been one of my big emphases. And fitness. So January was when I started testing out Pilates. I thought it would be funny, honestly, to test out, because I was always so intimidated by Pilates and by Pilates girls. And I was always like, oh, I don't think I could do it. And then I was like, well, I'm not going to know unless I go try. So I got to go figure it out. So that has been another big, big thing that I know was one of my main resolutions this year. Did you start with a word or a verse of the year? I'll share some of mine. Hopefully it can give you some context or some inspiration, or maybe jog your memory. Or if you didn't plan these things out, or you didn't, like, really enter the year thinking about them, and you want to borrow mine and pray on it and be like, okay, Lord, what could this mean for me in my life in retrospect, or looking at these next 3 months? It's all yours, girl. So my verse of the year was Philippians 1:6. Let me pull that one up for you, where he says, I am confident of this, that the one who began a good work in you will continue to complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. And so the theme of completion was really good. And that's kind of part of the theme that I want to walk with you in, is of closing up chapters. So my next question is, what feels like unfinished business right now? At whatever point you're listening to this episode, maybe you are listening to it on the 100th day before we end the year. Maybe you're listening to it on the 60th day before we end the year, wherever it may be. Maybe you're listening to this a year later. But where are you at right now? And when you look forward to December 31st, what would you say feels like, if I end the year without having this done, or without having this bookended and tied up and finished, it's going to bug me. Like, it's something that's totally in your control that you could have an influence on. What feels like unfinished business? What do you want to bookend this year? What do you want to close out before the ball drops? And then the last one is, who have you become so far? One of the most important questions that you can ask yourself is, who is God calling me to be? Who do I want to be? And who am I now? And who have I been? And really learning to build, to bridge the gap between those 3 different versions of yourself, those 3 different women, making sure that there's integrity, that there's a blending that's happening, that we're moving as close as we can to who God wants us to be. So who have you become so far? I have become someone that goes to 6 a.m. Pilates sometimes. Like, hilarious. Who would have thought? Not me. Certainly not me. I've become someone that is absolutely, I'm giddy thinking about the turkey trot coming up again. It's going to be a tradition. I care a lot about traditions. That's another big one. I have become someone who has done a lot of work. I have become someone who has found some of the best happy hours in my town possible. I have become someone who reads a ton and who has gotten to read a lot of new books and meet with a lot of amazing authors. And that's been super cool. I became someone who accidentally got super obsessed with The Summer I Turned Pretty. If you've been on Instagram, I like can't talk about it that much because I won't stop. I have a lot of thoughts. The amount of shame that Belly was carrying. Anyways. So what are those 4 things? I'll leave those in the show notes for you if you want to journal it out. But take a moment to reflect on how this year has gone. That is the very first place we need to begin. Audit your year so far, 2025, so that next year, next week, we can roll in with a more clear game plan. And as I'm walking you through these 12 like different glow up buckets that I have, I'm going to share them with you right now, that you are really clear on what is a big importance for you, something that is a priority, something that you do want to focus on, and something that maybe isn't, or that you're like, I'm actually killing it and I'm really proud of myself in that area. So because this is also Tuesday, September 23rd, we're all about dates and the numbers here. So today's Tuesday, September 23rd. That's Padre Pio's feast day. I thought we'd get a little bit of encouragement from him. Ready? Padrecito. Here's what he has to say. Same principle as nothing changes if nothing changes isn't true. He says, in the spiritual life, he who does not advance goes backward. I'm about to spoil the challenge for this week. It happens as with a boat, which must always go ahead. If it stands still, the wind will blow it back. That's why I want you to have one focus every single week. It's the exact same way that Made Good is formatted. You have one focus every week so that you're moving forward consistently. It should be enough to stretch you without it being so much that it paralyzes you. Like that's the point. The beauty of baby steps is that you build traction and momentum, and it gives you something exciting to focus on. Also, a lot of our brains need novelty. Like a lot of times we need to get good at monotony. That is important. We need to get good at doing the same thing every single day because it is good or because it is necessary. But at the same time, like we need we need novelty. We need things that are exciting and different to kind of spark our brain, especially if you're someone whose brain really gets lit up with novelty and you have tried over and over and over to try different game plans and it hasn't worked for you. I'm just curious if you had enough fun and if you had enough novelty kind of spicing it up throughout the path. That would be really important. Second Padre Pio quote is, it would be easier for the world to exist without the sun than without the Holy Mass. You're getting some hints on what our challenge is. And third, endeavor to unite the simplicity of children with the prudence of adults. Ooh. Isn't that so good? The simplicity of children. So we're going to focus on simple things. It shouldn't be super complex, but the prudence of an adult is also the mind that can assess, well, what would happen if I did this? And what would happen if I didn't? Is this the right thing to be focusing my attention on right now? What would be the greatest good, the most important thing to focus on? Okay, I want to give you a little sneak peek on what it is that we're going to be focusing on. So we have these 12 little glow up buckets. One of the next episodes that I'm going to do is I'm going to share a little bit about the glow up year that my friend and our fem instructor Mila and I did last year. We share a birthday month and we set out on a mission. And so we're going to show you pictures of the efforts of our glow up year. But basically having these 12 focuses every single week. So the first being prayer, reset, and liturgical living. I'm going to give you a little bit of that this week, but we're going to focus again in front of a whole other episode. We're going to talk about body composition. We're going to talk about your skin and your hair. We're going to talk about your clothes. We're going to talk about your relationship with your phone. We're going to talk about your nutrition. We're going to talk about your social life, hobbies, your environment, your home, and casting vision for 2026. So this is what's going to be able to propel you into this new year. And you're going to have one thing. There's honestly going to be something for everyone. The next thing that I want you to know is, as you are reflecting on that past year and doing that audit, if any of it includes for you that you want to be the kind of woman that celebrates liturgically and gets into the feast days or builds more traditions, especially with the holiday season, that's a really great time to assess, do you have traditions? Whether you have a family and you're trying to raise children and have like anchors for them to understand and come back to every single year, or you are single as all get out, but you're like, Lord, I gotta live. You gotta have traditions. We gotta build traditions this year. So that's one thing that we're gonna focus on too. This next month, October, if you're a liturgical living girl, October has to be the best month of feast days in the entire calendar. It is so stacked, it's ridiculous. I shan't read the entire list. Well, maybe I will. I just want you to know about this, especially if this is going to be part of your audit. Okay. October 1st, St. Therese. October 2nd, Guardian Angels. 4th, St. Francis. 5th, St. Faustino. Faustino. 6th, St. Bruno. 7th, Our Lady of the Rosary. 9th, St. John Henry Newman and St. Dennis, head in the hand. 11th, St. John the 23rd. Go Rams. October 12th, St. Carlo Acutis. That's so sweet. 15th, St. Teresa of Avila. 16th, St. Margaret Mary Alacoque. And St. Longinus pierced the spear in his side. And St. Hedwig. 17th, St. Ignatius of Antioch. 18th, St. Luke. 19th, St. Jean de Brebeuf and Isaac Jogues, big one over there in the north and in the east, I know. I think in Michigan, they celebrate that more than they do here in California. I actually didn't learn about them until I was in college. And Blessed Yerzy. October 22nd, St. John Paul II. 23rd, St. John of Capistrano. It's the church I got married at. 24th, St. Anthony Marie Claret. St. 28th, October 28th, St. Simon and Jude. And the 29th, Blessed Chiara Badano, who I know so many girls love so much. It is a sprint of an October for liturgical living. So this is also going to give us these natural touch points for reflection for this month. Another thing with liturgical living is I strongly encourage you. This is something that I do with Made Good is we actually program out big launches with the liturgical year. So we have 2 cohorts in the year that are specific to the liturgical calendar because I think you deserve a grand finale and I think it helps your brain form. The first one is our January cohort, ends on Easter week. Cool, right? So this year, it was like all the Easter girls. We called them our Jubilee Queens because it was like the Jubilee Year of Hope beginning. And it was girls that were going to stop on Easter. And I was like, guys, do you realize that the Lord planned this out for you perfectly? There's some girls that were waiting years to join Made Good and joined for that exact place because they needed to end on Easter. They needed to have hope instilled in them. They needed a resurrection. I really firmly believe that the Lord is calling them to that. Now, this month is the Advent Queens, okay, that they are going to end. And this is for you too. Like we are starting this today and we are going to end it throughout Advent. So what does that mean for you? Why do you think the Lord is setting this up at this time for you specifically? And how can you kind of lean into that? Your health goals should totally tie the liturgical year because there's so much inspiration. There's so many ways that the Lord can speak and your journey can be infused over and over and over again by just paying attention to what the church is celebrating, what we are focusing on, the scriptures and the saints and the feast days that we have coming up then. Okay, your challenge of the week. 1 is to do that audit. Okay. Do the audit, sit down with a pen and paper. If you're someone that's like, Flo, I struggle so hard to journal. Typically, honestly, what I find is 2 things. Oh, I actually got a DM about this the other day that she was like, how do I start journaling? I feel like if I don't have a really strict plan, it's just going to go all over the place. And I'm like, honestly, that's a good thing. Like you're totally allowed to just go all over the place. Just see what comes out. So many times, like your brain is just jam packed with all of these thoughts and you're not getting them out in any way. And there's something about hitting pen to paper and slowing down your thoughts enough to see them and see what comes out, because you might have 25 thoughts bursting through your brain, but like, what's the dominant one that comes out on paper? Because you can only write 1 sentence and 1 word at a time. So what gets distilled down? What's the main thing that comes out? But feel free that if you have like 1,000,001 thoughts, or you feel like your journaling gets really chaotic, or sometimes I've talked to women who are like, I don't know what's going to come out. Like, I feel like I'm going to open Pandora's box if I start journaling. Like they're like nervous about what kind of emotions will come up. And to that we'll say, God bless you, and know that he is with you. And wherever you go deeper into your heart, the bridegroom already waits there. Like there's nowhere you're going to go into your heart that the bridegroom, that Jesus, that our Lord is not already waiting for you, and that he's already there and he already knows. And he's like, great, I was just waiting for you to be ready to go there and like for you to be prepared. And I love you and we're here and we're going to figure this out. So be encouraged. But that's your challenge number 1. Number 2, I want you to pick an anchor habit. What's like the one thing that you want to do over these 100 days? Because I'm going to just be throwing things at you, dripping it out, surprises every single week. But what's your one thing that you want to focus on? Mine is, I think it would be sick to go to 100 masses. This morning I went at 6:30 a.m. because I booked an 8 a.m. Pilates class. My mass is at 8:30. Didn't realize it. Can't go to the 5:30. And I was like, guess who's waking up early? early. And I rolled in there and it was amazing. So I think it'd be really cool. I just want to see what would happen in my soul if I went to 100 masses straight. The only day that I foresee it being a problem is I have a couple flights booked. I think I have 3 travel days this year. We'll see. I'm going to do my very, very best. I'm not going to go like 75 hard style where you have to start over or anything like that. Like it's all going to count, but that's my main goal. And then next week, I'm going to give you another one. Or when we get to fitness week, I'm going to give you another one. But what's your one thing that you want to do every single day? I recommend that you make this a prayer and or movement anchor goal so that you are moving in a certain direction. So if you're going to do a rosary every day, if you're going to do 15 minutes of reading scripture, if you are going to visit Jesus in the chapel, if you're going to go to mass, whatever it may be, I want you to pick one anchor habit that is going to carry you through over these next 100 days. So let me know what your anchor habit's going to be. Go ahead and drop it in the comments below. Send it to me. Tag me on Instagram when you start doing it. I want to see it at the Catholic Nutritionist. Mine is going to be, can I hit 100 masses in 100 days? Also, I want you to mark your calendar. If you don't use a physical planner, grab just like a paper calendar. If you don't use either of those, maybe set it up on your GCal. You can set an event from today until the 31st and it'll say like day 1, day 27, day 35. It'll count it down for you. Have some kind of visual. Maybe you're going to do sticky note wall, whatever it may be. Have a way of counting down these 100 days, kind of like in kindergarten when like the 100th day of school, kids dress up like old people. It's like the cutest thing ever, but they make it a really big deal and a big celebration. Or at the end of the school year, I remember we would always do like paper chains in our classrooms and like rip off one more paper chain and get closer and closer and closer. I want you to start having visuals to build momentum and get excited that the year's almost over. And there is so much that you can accomplish in this time. All right, that's it for episode 1. This is week 1 of your glow up. Let's see who you are by day 100. If you want to see more of these things that I'm going to be planning out, I'm actually going to throw them onto Substack. If you're a visual girl or if you listen on your drive to work and you can't write all these things down, I'm going to have it written out for you over there. Next week, we're tackling the number 1 New Year's resolution: fitness, movement, and body composition. It's going to be good. I know that this is usually on your New Year's resolutions for so many people. So let's just hit it early and let's knock one off the list. I'll see you for next week of the challenge. Make sure that you're subscribed. Send this to a friend that you want to do it with, and make sure you do your audit and talk to someone about it. Share it with someone so you have a buddy on the journey. I'll see you on the next one. It's going to be a good 100 days.